Good evening, everyone. We're back for the prediction shows for this weekend's action. JFT, the main man in the building. As always, hope you're well, my friend. Thanks for joining me. We've got Moses versus Dillian. We're starting at the main event and working backwards, Jay. 3 days out now. It's been an interesting build-up, shall we say. Lots of people, myself included, I don't know, we'll get into the fact you're maybe on the opposite side of that divide, but lots of us kind of thought Dillian's been bought in for cannon fodder. I think he referred to himself as cannon fodder during one of the interviews, a name to get on Moses Itauma's record. But then the hype that's building this week is the fact that Dillian's turned up in really, really good shape, noticeably better shape than he was in for Christian Hammer, and then his most recent fight against Ebenezer Tete, which was horrendous if we're being polite about it. Give us your outline of it, mate, and then I think I know where you're going to go with your prediction, but let the people know.
Okay. I mean, being that he's a professional baby snatcher, then I'm assuming he needs to be in fairly good condition. Catching all those kids. Is it the booty snatcher? Is it the body snatcher? Is it the baby snatcher? Bless him. I did see an interview that Dillian was doing.
Yes, Liam.
Yes, Liam. I did see an interview and he called Tom Schreiber over, and Schreiber was terrified, but he explained himself, and so
I saw that as well.
They made it right. Look, I was, and we've spoke about this on and off camera. We were all sort of disheartened, really, and not disheartened, but underwhelmed when this fight was made, because Dillian Whyte has not looked great in his last two performances. They were small haul, really, off the grid. There was rumblings of him retiring, and then he turned up in horrendous shape, absolutely horrendous shape. But as I said, from when the fight was made, he'll come in the shape he believes he needs to, and he's proved me right to this point. He knows that Moses is probably one of the quickest heavyweights we've got.
Yeah.
So he's come in light, but not too light. He just looks like he's taking it really seriously. This ain't just a payday for Dillian.
He's clearly up for it, mate, isn't he? He's clearly up for it.
And I think the fact that he's been overlooked has spurred him and motivated him even more.
Give him an extra 10%.
Giving him that bit of an edge. Bit like when he fought Joshua, because there were rumblings of, yes, you've beat him, but it was in the amateurs, it was a fluke, and he came in and had Joshua in bits of trouble during that fight. Certainly towards the end of the second round, he had Joshua wobbling, and when he turns up, Dillian, he gives any heavyweight in the top 10 a terrible night. Look, to come back from one of the most brutal knockouts you've ever seen, right? When Povetkin knocked him out, especially because it was in Eddie's garden and it was quiet and you heard the impact and then his head hitting the canvas and it was brutal. To then fight him again and do what he did tells you the kind of man he is. I mean, I don't think it's ever been questioned that Dillian can fight and he's got bottle, but this is a no-win for Dillian, right? He goes in there and ices Moses. They will say, Moses was 20, he was inexperienced, he should never have been in there, right? He gets beat, everybody says, well, he's past it anyway, he's 37, he was expected to. So it's a no-win for Dillian. He doesn't need to.
Is it a no-win for Moses if he ices?
I think so. It's a no-win for anybody other than the fans. The fans win because as long or as short as this fight may be, it'll be a spectacle. I think they've been really respectful. They've both kept their composure. I think Moses is just being Moses, but Dillian's very similar to Chisora. He can go off like that and just switch. I think we will see something like that, maybe at the press cup, the final presser, or at the weigh-in. I think Dillian's going to go over the edge. I think he needs that within himself to sort of G himself up.
Here we go. Liam Tully in the house.
Straight in, get on the live, boys.
So I just believe that it's not as cut and dry as everybody's made out. It's not as straightforward as everybody's made out. And this fight can go one of two ways. It ends early, and you'd favour Moses. But if it goes 6, 7, 8, and he's detonating his right hand, because let's not be... Look, apart from the Povetkin and Joshua knockouts, because the Tyson Fury fight was an anomaly for me. He never turned up for that, right? No, Dillian very rarely gets caught unaware. So he very rarely gets caught with shots he doesn't see coming. We've seen it twice. Povetkin, He put that right. And Joshua, he was sort of half buzzed and then he got caught and then tried to fight and got knocked out. He's learned. Dillian's only lost, what's he lost? 3 fights? Fury, Joshua and Povetkin.
Yeah.
He's avenged one of those. Never got a chance to avenge Joshua, which I believe it'd have been a lot.
Got a win over
the
Joe
second time
Parker,
round.
2 wins over Chisora when Chisora was a bit better than what he is now.
So he's been at that level. He's not phased. He don't care who's in front of him. And I think if it goes past 6 or 7 rounds, we will see whether Moses really is as good as what we say he is. Because if he's detonating his right hand and his cardio's going, his energy bar's going down, and Dillian's still stood there in front of him, walking forward like he does, flat-footed. Not flat-footed in a negative way, but he plants his feet, does Dillian. Because you're either going to have to push him back or stop him coming forward. He's sort of like, he forces you to do something by sort of not plodding. Again, it sounds like I'm being disrespectful to his style. I'm not. It's just he stands awkward because he's traditionally a kickboxer, so he stands with a wider stance, straight body. If Dillian can start letting that jab go, he's got a very underrated jab. If he can start letting that jab go and he starts to fluster and throw the right hand over it, and he's not there when Moses throws, we're going to see how Moses will have to have the fight of his life to beat Dillian if he don't knock him out early. To beat him on points, I think he's 5-1 or something like that. I got 20-1 on Dillian winning on points. I could see this fight going points. I really could see this fight going to points.
Depends how cagey Moses is. Moses is, I think, at the start of the fight. I think
he's going to have to be, mate. He's never been. The narrative is he's never been tapped on the whiskers, right? Obviously, he'll have been hurt in sparring and took punches in sparring, but if he's buying into the narrative, which he says he isn't, but how can you not? If there's enough smoke blown up your ass, I get it at work. If I have a good sales week, I think I'm the man, right? So you do listen to the noise, right? And he's saying all the right things. He's had some brilliant media training, and he's coming out of himself a little bit. But his answers are very generic, and he says what he feels he needs to say for the narrative, right? But when he's in there and he's in the mix and the crowd, and because they're not all going to be a pro Itauma crowd. If anything, I'm seeing the crowd shift this week now that everyone's seen that Dillian's in shape. And he's not kicking off. He's just turned up. He's being professional. The narrative's sort of swinging. I want to see how Moses reacts when it ain't going all his way. That's when we'll see how good he is.
Well, we want to see that, Liam, don't we? We want to see. We don't just want to see Moses blow him away in a round. I don't really think that's going to do anything for Moses. It's not going to do anything for the fans. We want to see. We want to see a competitive fight. But give us, Jay, round off with your prediction, then we'll go into Liam's prediction.
I am going Dillian Whyte points.
Okay, Liam.
Look, it's a matchup that's intrigued me more as we got closer. Me and Jay spoke about it on Sunday. The footage coming out of Dillian in training camp. He looks like he's up for this, and he looks like he's trained. And then you've watched him yesterday, and some of the things that he seemed really relaxed about prior to the Fury fight and his last 2 fights. He's now got that dog back in him. He stuck it on Thomas Treiber, didn't he, in that seconds out interview about calling him what he called him. Thomas said, look, I had a producer in my ear, got it wrong, but Dillian was like the old Dillian, not letting that go, and it's all bodes well. Moses hasn't been beyond the 3rd round since 2022. That tells you everything you need to know, and those times he went beyond the 3rd rounds, one was points in a 4-rounder and one was points in a 6-rounder, and he won every round of both fights, so he's never been tested, has he? I think the longer this fight goes, I understand Jay's narrative of you think the experience of Dillian going through 10, 12 rounders more regularly is going to come into it. I just wonder if at the age he's at now and with his inactivity through his own fault and no fault of his own, if that's going to come into play. I think Dillian will start red hot. The first 5 rounds, Moses needs to be on red alert because Dillian's going to be coming to take his head off, make a statement, and look to end the fight. I said on Sunday, and I said to you boys earlier, I think Moses is going to get knocked down in the first half of the fight. It wouldn't at all surprise me. Dillian sticks it on him, gets a knockdown, but I just think Moses will come back down the stretch. The freshness, the youth, the fact that he's not as battle hardened potentially as Dillian, and I see him stopping Moses late on down the second end of the fight. But anyone saying this is another 1-2 round blowout. If that does happen in Moses' favour, it's another massive statement. It's nothing really. What we've seen from Dillian this week and everything he's saying doesn't lean towards that. This is the best test for Moses Itauma on paper. And if that version of Dillian Whyte is turning up, then we're going to find out about Moses Itauma. What does he do when he can't, box at his pace on the back foot and then explode into life when he wants to in a round? What does he do when he takes a couple of shots? Everything tells us we're going to find out on Saturday. And I really hope we do, like you boys have said, because if he beats White, then the narrative is right. He's got to get a shot at Parker, Caballero, Dubois, Usyk, etc., because he's moving in that way. I'd be much more confident seeing him go into those types of fights, having been tested on Saturday night.
Yeah.
If he's not tested, we got the same questions we had after Dempsey McKean and Mark Bagalon earlier this year. Nothing changes. We want to see White test the young man, and then we're going to be able to go, okay, right, he's taken a punch, or he got dropped and he came back and won. That will tell us a lot more about him than another blowout, won't it?
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? Just going back to something. Talking about Dillian's inactivity, Liam. He ordinarily, apart from the 2-year break he had before he boxed, I think it was Franklin. Dillian Whyte historically has gone 6 to 8 months in between fights anyway. Yeah. He fought Tete at Christmas. So this narrative that he's inactive and he's coming off the couch is bollocks, really, because historically he's had 2 fights a year. He had 2 last year. This is his first one this year. Yeah, it's the middle of the year. And he normally boxes first quarter, last quarter. He's boxing in the middle of the year. The only real break he's had is the 2 years that he had. Let's have a look. Well, no, he boxed Povetkin and then had a break and boxed Fury, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think if anything, it's done him a favour because he's been able to properly train. And he looks in absolute peak physical condition in terms of Dillian. He's never been chiselled like Joshua, but his face is so slim. I think he's going for speed. And like you said, Liam, he might start red hot. He might just come steaming out, centre of the ring and work his jab. And if he does that, Moses will... Look, he's not going to do like Whack did and walk backwards into the corner and just let him tee off. Or Dempsey McKean gets clipped once and just shits the bed. Dillian Whyte's not bothered. You will have to put Dillian Whyte out unconscious because he's not scared of putting himself in danger. But I think Buddy McGirt will be the difference in this fight. Buddy McGirt knows his shit, man. He knows tactics. I know he says he don't watch his opponents. Bollocks, right? Absolute nonsense. Because I've actually seen archive footage of Buddy McGirt studying fighters when he had Macklin, for example. Studying opponents.
Is he still training Callum Smith?
Yes. Don't think is it? I don't know.
Callum said he's going back to Buddy for the Morel fight. So
listen, he's done it as a fighter. He's done really good things as a coach. But what I think is that the good thing about Buddy is he's not bothered about changing tactics mid-fight. So he'll have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. There'll be a plan for if Dillian gets knocked down in the first round. There'll be a plan if he knocks him down. I'm telling you now, Buddy McGirt will make a massive difference in this fight.
This is the best trainer Dillian's had for me personally since he's with Jonathan Banks, going back to when he won the British and he fought AJ. Jonathan Banks kept Dillian in that AJ fight after the first round. It's why he had such a good run through 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
It was the inexperience at that point that caught up with Dillian. He needs an authoritarian in the corner, someone that's not going to allow him to get distracted. No crap, no BS, and Buddy McGirt will be that. Yeah. Look, Saudi's a very different environment to fighting in the UK, to anywhere else that Dillian's fought before. We know it's his first time over there, so there shouldn't be too much of that to distract him at ringside, but if it is getting hot, if he does need to get a hold of his fighter, I trust Buddy McGirt to do it in a similar way I trust Jonathan Banks to do it with him back going to the AJ fight 10 years ago. It's just a calming presence, isn't it? Someone who can get him back on game plan and say, this is what you need to do. But it's whether it's enough. Moses is red hot, as everyone's saying.
He is, but let's be honest now, right? Let's all be really honest. He hasn't fucking fought anybody.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't. Dempsey McKean would struggle to win a fucking British title. Let's not sugarcoat it, right? He would struggle to win a British title. I'm talking about now. Yeah. If you threw him in there with the likes of Adelaide or TKV or Dave Allen, for God's sake, right? We would not guarantee that Dempsey McKean's coming out there with a win. His record looked fantastic on paper, and he sparred some of the greats. And he had, what was his best performance? Wobbling Justice Hooney towards the end of the fight. That was his It was like Wallin. Wallin's famous for, well, if it were anywhere else, he'd have stopped Fury. Right, but he didn't, so let's move on. I get that Moses is knocking people dead and he looks the part and he's only 20 years old, right? But he's not a big dude. He hasn't fought anybody. And if it all doesn't go right, because we're talking about it for Dillian, but it has to go right for Moses as well. The second he is on the back foot is when we'll see how good he is, because it's all gone his way so far. He's hit people, they've either shelled up or they've gone over. He will whack Dillian at least once in that fight, and Dillian will go, oh, okay then. He'll take one, because he'll see it coming.
Yeah.
It's the ones that he won't see coming that'll do the damage. Then we'll see how tough he is, because at the minute he's talking robotic. Well, if I stick to plan, I'll win.
I think we're going to get a fight by where they both come out hot. Moses only knows one gear. Dillian will get hit a few times and want to get one back. You know, we know what Dillian's like. And I think Moses closes the show within the first 5 or 6 rounds, honestly. Yeah. I think it's going to be a firefight. And Dillian's in it that way, but I don't think Moses... He's kind of got that AJ arrogance about him where before AJ lost to Ruiz, where, okay, whatever, I'm going to get to you before you get to me. And it's great to watch, but I'm intrigued by it. But we'll wrap this one up here, boys. I need to shoot off shortly. We'll try and sneak Nick Ball versus Sam Goodman in before we go.
Yes, Crumble.
Thanks for joining us. And